I was asked a question on Instagram why I don't overhead press in my own training. I'm not going to answer that question because I do overhead press in my own training, but it reminds me of a question I get asked by the athletes I work with all the time. And what they ask is, why do we do more bench pressing compared to overhead pressing in training? Now, remind you, I work with team sport athletes, football, basketball, volleyball, tennis. So there are arguments in favor of the overhead press compared to the bench press. And the worst argument that I've probably ever heard is that the overhead press is performed standing like sports, unlike the bench press where you're laying down. This is really shallow thinking and dumb. With the bench press, you can just lift a lot heavier weights compared to overhead press. The heavier weight with the bench press is just going to provide a greater stimulus and going to have greater training effect for most people who want to improve their general strength. This is due to a variety of reasons, but the primary reason is that the bench press just uses a greater amount of muscle mass than the overhead press. Very few athletes that I've seen or worked with can even overhead press their own body weight for one rep. The bench press is less technically demanding and demands much less range of motion of the shoulder. I think this point is super valuable and often underappreciated, especially for athletes who play contact sports. And the bench press is just easier to do and makes more sense. And now back to the less technically demanding point. Anybody on day one can just lay down and bench press with a good amount of load. Put aside some very few exceptions and you don't have to cue or teach anybody on the exercise. That's not the case with the overhead press. There's actually a lot of common technical mistakes with the overhead press. Many people struggle with the starting position, bar not across the clavicle, forearms not vertical, wrists not neutral. People struggle with the bar path. They end up pressing the bar around their head instead of just getting the face out of the way of the vertical bar path. And then a lot of people just turn the overhead press into a push press, kind of defeating the purpose of the exercise. So those are my main reasons as to why I favor the bench press. There's probably plenty other things that I didn't say in this video, but those are the things that come to mind. Thanks for watching the video. Leave a comment if you disagree or if you have other thoughts on the topic.